Today we're at the simulated Shortgrass Prairie at the Oklahoma Botanic Garden. We're going to talk about some concepts that can lead to successful renovation from introduced grass areas into native lawns or simulated shortgrass prairies. There's some very important steps that are involved with this process. The most important thing is to not rush the overall process, but to go through a systematic plan and use inspection and proofing in order to determine whether it's proper to go to the next step. In this area, the concept was to kill out the area of crabgrass and bermudagrass and convert it over time to a simulated shortgrass prairie. The steps involved are to first kill out the existing vegetation and then fallow the area for a time period, possibly using cover crops to reduce soil erosion and build organic matter in the soil, and then upon timely inspection and determination that we've killed out the invasive species, to move forward with establishment. Now, this process at this site met with limited success. The reason was that the process was, the area was undertaken, it was fairly large, and also it could have been broken up into much smaller segments, so that's an important part of the process. Also, we have to allow enough time to kill out bermudagrass rhizomes and the very large amount of seed that's present in the soil. I generally suggest starting these renovation efforts in June, first mowing the area very short, also keeping it irrigated. What we try to do there is to flush the reserves in the Bermuda rhizomes to get a lot of shoot growth, and also flush the seed in the soil to get them to germinate. We want to reduce drought stress so that when we come in with that high rate of glyphosate, we want it to be taken up by both the weed seedlings and also the bermudagrass present, and for it to translocate throughout the plant. Following our Roundup applications, or glyphosate applications, we want to allow about 7 to 10 days before we do a tillage of the area to approximately a 4-inch depth. The purpose of the tillage is to break up the rhizomes and force the dormant lateral buds on the rhizomes to break dormancy, as well as to flush additional weed seed from the soil and get it to germinate as well. After approximately 2 weeks of weed seed growth or Bermuda rhizome growth, we want to come back in and respray the area either with a backpack using glyphosate spot spray or perhaps even a broadcast application. You do have to save your total yearly rate of glyphosate and make sure that you've allowed yourself enough to use for your second application. After your second application, we can do another retillage, or we can do a spot spray, or a combination of both. In the end, though, this process takes a minimum of about 18 months. Sometimes we can get by with 10 months, but we will have to use oftentimes a cover crop. One thing that's important to realize when we use a cover crop is what we use to reduce soil erosion and as a cover crop now could possibly become a weed later, so we have to choose very closely. One of my favorite cover crops is to use wheat, a winter annual, which dies out when we mow it short in late spring or early summer, or it dies out from heat and drought. Very seldom does wheat become a problem for us later in the process. So it's very affordable, it's very vigorous, and it also helps to reduce soil erosion and also helps build organic matter in the soil. Usually during the second year of the process, after proper proofing of a 3 to 4 week time period and window where we've kept the soil moist during the summer, we can determine if we've got a lot of weed seed growth, more germination of weed seed, if we've properly killed out bermudagrass rhizomes or not. Oftentimes we'll have to dig into the soil and make sure that we can't find live white bermudagrass rhizomes. Only after we've proofed and inspected the site and that we're satisfied that we've killed out those invasive species can we move forward with the next stage. That can be involving establishment of vegetative prepared plugs of native grasses, or seeding buffalo grass or blue grama or side oats grama or other such mixes. I usually discourage coming in with broadleaf forbs and grasses in the second year, because sometimes we'll see that we've got some escaped weed problems, and if we come in with a mix of both desirable broadleaves and desirable grasses, we really limit our palette of herbicide selections so that we can go and clean up the area. So I like to look at the overall process as being a 3 to 5 year process before we develop a complex shortgrass prairie that contains both native short grasses and the various broadleaf forbs that are a part of the shortgrass prairie. So as you think about renovating from an introduced lawn species like bermudagrass to maybe a native lawn or your own simulated shortgrass prairie, remember, don't rush the process. Allow proofing at each stage to make sure that you've gotten rid of the invasive species. Pick a cover crop that won't later become a weed problem for you. And then when you do come in with your desired species, keep it simple at first, just to further proof that you've gotten rid of your serious weed problems, and then you're allowed to introduce a more complex system over time of not only additional grasses but also additional broadleaf plant species. If you'll follow these steps, you'll be assured of having better success in the long run.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.